Hey, this is Aiden of Studio Raphael. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Musician Circle podcast. I just want to take a little bit of time to introduce this episode. I haven't done that in the past, so I thought this would be a nice addition going forward. You see, at the core of this studio, there's always been a message of empowerment and connection to me. Everyone has a story to tell, everybody has past experiences, and the majority of us have past traumas too. Somewhere in creating Studio Raphael, my goal has been to create a space for people to feel safe in expressing their honest truth. The goal has always been to somehow create some sort of network of inspiring stories, whether it be through a podcast or through actual music and creation, that brings people back to their creative center and the source of their own creative empowerment. You see, at the center of my being, I truly believe that we are all creative beings. We all have this connection and this potential to create alongside the infinite. And how we express that into the world is a byproduct of our past experiences and our traumas, which then create our beliefs. You know, if we grew up in a world where we weren't getting traumatized, everybody would be expressing pretty truly and pretty authentically, but that just really isn't the case in our modern world. So in this episode, I just want to thank Bryan, first and foremost, for being so open and honest and vulnerable in our conversation. And I hope that this inspires others to be willing to share the same. So if you have a story that you want to tell, please, reach out to me. That is the whole point of this, is to create this sort of network of musicians, songwriters, creatives. I do think maybe I'm going to rename this from the musician circle to the songwriter circle, just because a big part of my initiative going forward is based in songwriting and self-expression rather than just musicianship. I think there's a very cathartic and powerful element to writing songs and, feeling our way through the healing process. Those words that just came to me before is feeling is healing. And I really resonate with that, and I want to find a way to mix that into what I'm doing. But, I'm still sort of in the process of understanding this and figuring it out. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoy this conversation. Thanks so much. And if you feel that maybe I can help you out in any way, please do reach out, because I'd love to hear from you. Also, at if any point in time you're enjoying the conversation, leave a like, subscribe. Let me know what sort of things you find interesting, and it just helps for the whole project going forward. So, thanks and enjoy. Welcome to the Musician Circle podcast with your host, Aiden Brookstone, only at Studio Raphael. Bryan, man, thank you so much for joining me on the Musician Circle here. Really good to have you. I appreciate you taking some time out to have a conversation with me and get into some of the nitty gritty about life and fears and music and all these things that come together. So feel free to just introduce yourself real quick and say a quick hello.
All right. I appreciate it. My name is Bryan. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I've been playing drums for about 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently got into well, I've had some projects in the past, but I just recently got into a very serious project with gigs that, you know, are lined up for months basically. So
Nice.
pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's new
Congratulations.
to the first time I played is actually only a duo. So
Mm-hmm.
it's me and another guy.
Nice, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah. So share, I guess, you mentioned to me, as I just said off camera, but you mentioned how, one of the things that you've sort of struggled with is finding people to play with. So do you mind sort of elaborating on that sense a little bit?
Sure. There's just really a ton of people out there that different skill levels, different agendas, and obviously one thing that's add to that is just meshing with them, like you said before.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets difficult, and people's schedules, agendas, and everything like that. Like I said, it's hard to find the right chemistry to do what you're going for. And sometimes people don't even have the same goals as you, but that's not upfront with
Yeah,
with what they're about. So.
totally. So what would you say is like some of the better experiences of chemistry with people that you've had?
Uh, well, there was one group that I was in. We were moving along pretty well, but both. ended up having to move out of state for different reasons, and it was both were very sudden and unexpected. But that was cool. That was a while ago, and when
Mm-hmm.
the music scene in Charleston, I don't know if you know anything about that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
gotten to be pretty big. I mean, it's comparable to like Austin or Nashville.
Cool.
Um,
Wow.
very very competitive, and that was when it was just getting started. So that was a really cool experience and
Mm-hmm.
unexpected, really just all around because
Mm-hmm.
the way that I met him. So
Nice.
um, that was cool.
And the main instrument you play with people, it tends to be drums. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like to write songs. I can write. I
Mm-hmm.
can play a little bit of rhythm guitar, but drums are the main thing.
Cool. So maybe like a good question to ask is like, what are your goals and aspirations when it comes to music? Like what is the dream, so to speak?
Well, I mean, everybody's dream, I guess, is to go as far as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But really, just to be like be a local hero, you know.
Yeah. What does that mean to you? That's a cool way to put it.
um, just be known. So I mean, growing up, I grew up in Charleston, and everybody knew me as like an athlete. So I
Mm-hmm.
started playing kind of later in life,
Mm-hmm.
after right around college, and I would just like to be known as as a musician or someone who was actually good that people
Mm-hmm.
listen to. I made stuff that people, not only that people who know me, but also other musicians like could appreciate.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So what
You know,
just on the topic of like appreciation, what makes what do you think creates that sort of sense of appreciation in your community and with the people around you? That's you know,
it's a good question.
yeah.
Um, I would say, hmm,
It's tough.
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Really, like I guess one of the things would be being able to get gigs steadily around here
Yeah.
because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of bands, a lot of competition, and there's a lot of venues, obviously, but you know,
Hmm.
they could be built, they could be booked anywhere from a month to 3 months out.
Hmm.
So getting a gig like and staying booked is something that's, I would say, that's you know
Yeah.
along those lines.
What do you say it's like, or what do you find it's like connecting with an audience out where you are? What's that experience like? Is it hard? Is it
Well,
easy? Is it,
it
because,
is hard.
yeah.
There's a big there's a big kind of like punk scene. There's a then also there's you got your jam bands and beach kind of music. And those are the big followings or big the big crowds that you're gonna see.
Hmm.
So to connect with one of those, because we don't fit in any of those categories really, but
Right.
is difficult, and it's very like what it's very like an accomplished feeling.
Right. Yeah.
But connecting around here, it's definitely cool because there's so many different venues and people that go to see live music. So it's always a challenge from place to place.
For sure. So in the duo that you're doing now, you said this is the one that's sort of it's working well between you and this guy that you're playing with.
It is, yeah.
Nice. So what kind of music are you guys playing there?
I guess it could be labeled, if you had to, as indie rock, but
Cool.
it's kind of we play anything from like harder rock to you know blues and soul and funk,
Nice. And is it music that you guys are writing yourself, like all original?
all original, yeah.
Dang. And like, what is the, I guess, subject matter of the music you guys are writing? What are the lyrics all about?
Well, that's all over the board too.
Yeah.
Relationships,
Hmm.
um, drug problems, the
Yeah.
normal things that I guess people write about or have in their life.
Yeah, dude.
Past experiences with family or growing up or just day-to-day things sometimes too. It's really all over the place.
Yeah, man. I mean, absolutely, those are areas of like, even look for myself, man. I'm figuring out cannabis with myself at the moment. It's been a pretty freaking difficult process. I'm working through my own fears and insecurities and all this stuff, which is, what brings me to having conversations about it. And yeah, how are you finding, like, what are the difficult parts of maybe connecting with an audience through that? Do you find it's hard to sort of share in an experience with somebody you're playing to, singing about it, or yeah, what do you find to be the really difficult part of maybe connecting and building up that audience and those people? Maybe that's a good question.
Well, one thing I could say is get without a bass player or another guitar player or anybody else, I think one of the main things is bringing a sound that's big enough. Some of the venues that we play, have 5, 6 pieces, and people go there and they're expecting a huge blowout rock show, which we bring a bigger sound than 2 people, but to
Mm-hmm.
connect with people like that, it's sometimes it is difficult,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's kind of like nerve wracking. Also with 2 people, you know, you've got your part, he's got his part. If
Mm-hmm.
anyone if it screws up a little bit, it's gonna be noticed, you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, do you think there's a way of like almost there's something I think like in the two piece that has something unique to offer. It's like you don't necessarily have to, obviously it's nice to have a bass player and have more, but at the same time I think like sort of having that nice dynamic of a duo is a good way of, not overcomplicating things. Do you think that, there's something maybe with that? Everybody in the audience can criticize all they want, but on stage it's the two of you, and if you mess up, you mess up, and then that's the way it is. And I think sort of sometimes I think people maybe want to look at who's on stage and like see them as perfect beings, but like we're
Yeah,
definitely not. So in a way, I don't know. It just makes me think maybe do you think you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself when you're going up on stage there? A question for you.
probably,
Yeah.
probably, yeah,
I do it too.
um,
I'm doing it every time I open my mouth here.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And um, I found that I don't know recently, like some of the gigs, uh, we've worked on the song, we've played them over and over, and from when I started playing out live to like where I've got now, there's still a lot of anxiety and fear and just nervousness. But recently I've just got I'll be able to get in after the like first song maybe like I'll get in a zone and I won't even remember playing for
Right.
like the rest of the set.
Yeah.
And I
What's
don't know how I don't know how I do it in my mind, but I guess I stop thinking about everything and start letting muscle memory take over. Because I had a big problem, I guess, for a while. Just like trying to, because another thing is about me though is I'm not gonna say I'm self taught, but I took some lessons I learned from some really good people, and then I just went from there.
nice?
And so I had a problem with like doing my rudiments or my little practices and getting my muscle memory straight. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to just play and just have fun, and I kind of learned along the way. And you break through like a point and you realize that you're getting better, but like I said, the muscle memory wasn't always there, so I couldn't rely on that. I had
Yeah.
to think about it every time I was playing to stay on point and sound good,
Totally. Where do you think? I mean, like for me, my anxiety tended to come in like when I was a kid. I remember being like a teenager, and I got on stage, and there was like no worry. I was just super excited to be there, and there was sort of this part of my life where all of a sudden the anxiety started to kick in, and then it still, it still plays into this day. So do you remember maybe when the anxiety started to like become something that you had to deal with on stage, or was it always there maybe?
it was always there.
Really?
Yeah.
Like when did you first get on stage, as a kid or older?
No, no.
Oh, I guess you were an athlete growing up.
Y-
Or more
the
so.
first couple of times was with the band that I mentioned before that was like really cool, but uh that was open mic.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started playing out, and that was the first time I would say
Yeah.
that it started really from day one. And
Hmm.
like I said, I was probably in my mid 20s. I was like a little bit through college by then, but
What about when you were
it's still.
playing sports? Was it like, did you have an anxiety on the field as well, or whichever sports you were playing?
Yeah, I played like uh baseball, basketball, every sport really.
Yeah.
And it was there too.
Yeah.
I guess it's just the anxiety of performing,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, dude, I
It
absolutely. You hit
it's
the hammer on
it's like,
the nail.
you have people there that you know or that you don't know, or you want to know, and
Hmm.
you just don't want to ruin the moment. You
Yeah.
just don't want to be the one that doesn't show up to play.
Yeah. It's
And
like,
that's where it comes from me.
for sure. That's, oh man. It brings me into so many memories for myself as well of just that fear of messing up a performance. And it's like I even have dreams about it where I'm going on stage and like I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying and I'm just like scared as all heck. So how do you have any ways to deal with this anxiety as of now, or is it just kind of there?
Um, a few shots.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's kind of the modern way of dealing with it tends to be through alcohol and drugs and whatever else. I feel that.
yeah.
uh,
Few shots and maybe a little bit of cannabis.
yeah. What have,
That's pretty much how it.
really? Yeah, that's look, I think I relate to it in my own way as well. When I'm stressed out, it's finding ways to kind of zone out of it. I don't know. It's like this is definitely a more difficult area of conversation. So I appreciate you being so open and sharing. I don't know how do you
Definitely.
find like reaching into a couple shots or a joint or something. How do you find that affects you if you're open to sharing?
Um, when I'm real anxious,
Hmm.
it pretty much levels me, or it puts my mind at ease.
Yeah.
Um,
Then in
you
the
know,
long run, though, do you think it helps solve or cure the anxiousness? Maybe the anxiousness never goes away. I don't know.
maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe so. Um, but I've always been an anxious, person. Like when I was younger, and it wasn't didn't even involve sports. It was like school, and like re, you know reports or presentations or speeches. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would I would just think about that, and dream about it, and like just dread it and
Mm.
try and get out of it, or just try and I would just it was just always a thing for me. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, I'm very personable and outgoing, but things
Mm-hmm.
like that, when all eyes are on me, like I just have, it's like almost someone in the back of my head telling me like, don't screw up, don't screw up.
Yeah.
And
You're
I
like,
just, I've never been able to like get rid of it and get in that place,
oh man.
even today.
No, that's I relate to it. It's crazy. It's just it's such like a I don't know. I feel it and it hurts me as well thinking about it and it just yeah like
How do you deal with it?
that's a great question, man. Thanks for asking. Thanks for throwing it my way. I've gotten better at it. For me, it was like just in some ways it was just doing it. Like I've been scared as all heck of singing in public and singing for people. And last Monday, it was only for 4 people, but I did it.
uh,
And it's just like I think in some ways for me, it's just like it's a gradual sense of like shock therapy where I just keep pushing myself, but only in comfortables or only in scenarios that I'm comfortable with. And it's
right.
like 2 years ago, I would have been way too scared to do a podcast and have these sorts of conversations. But I was just starting to build the courage to get back into music and start pursuing this again for myself. That's, yeah, my approach has just been like introducing myself to it, showing that I can do it to myself, and then
Yeah.
gradually building the confidence, knowing that even if I mess up, it's not the end of the world. And I think
Right.
that's like also a part of it. Like, is do you think there's a fear maybe that if you mess up, that you're ruining it for everybody or ruining it for
Yeah. I
something?
definitely do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so interesting. I just like I wonder if that's like something that comes from the schools or it comes from just such like a high pressure environment as kids where we're sort of taught that if we don't succeed in the particular way then we're failures and whatever else, and so we as kids maybe we put expectations on ourselves that are just like way too high for a child to have, and then we just take that into the rest of our life. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Right.
I wonder. Well, I mean, because
And I grew up like my parents, especially my dad, was very strict and
yeah,
like high expectations,
I was gonna say maybe there was something with related to parent as well, because I think that's definitely it gets passed down. But sorry, continue. I was just curious there.
yeah, he was very hands on with everything, I'd say, and like not not showing up or not producing was not really an option for
Right.
me.
So I guess
Um,
maybe in some ways it sort of built this anxiety that I'm assuming when you didn't perform there was some sort of uh what's the word, not conflict, there was a thing that happened, a consequence that happened when you didn't properly perform that maybe came from a parental figure, and
yeah,
then you associated failure with consequence, which then has built into maybe some sort of fear of failure growing into later aspects of life. Crazy.
definitely,
Wow.
definitely.
It's funny. It's funny how that stuff all works, man. That's
Yeah.
how does it feel confronting that? I don't think you were expecting this maybe at the start of our conversation, but I'm happy that we were able to open up to it.
Um, Feels good.
Yeah.
It makes me think.
Mhm.
Um, you know, about everything, like you said, like how it started, um,
Mhm.
and how it's gotten here.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I've never really thought about that. I would say I
yeah.
always just thought that um, everybody gets nervous and everybody's scared to fail or whatnot.
I mean, I think that's true. I think everybody does get nervous and everybody's scared to fail, but I think based on past experiences, we tie different consequences to the result of our failures. And where some people see failure as an opportunity to grow because maybe their parents said to them, like, hey, it's okay that you fail, just keep trying and you're going to get better. Other parents, with their sort of inner expectations, say to their kids, like, because you failed, everything's going wrong now. And so a kid who can't even process anything basically at that point just sort of internalizes that as I'm not allowed to fail, and if I do, then everything's going to go wrong. And
Yeah,
that's a crazy
definitely.
situation for a kid to be in, man. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that sometimes I wish I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a different situation, but it wasn't a terrible childhood. It just wasn't ideal.
Yeah, no, man, I think
So
that's relatable for, I want to say, 99.999% of the world. It's there's so much freaking generational trauma that's been handed down, and like it's me too. When I absolutely love my parents to death, but I remember when I would say to my mom, like, I want to pursue music, and it was just like, oh, like maybe you should do something safer, maybe maybe that's not for you. And it was just like, you know on one hand,
yeah, yeah,
it's not her fault by any means. It's she grew up with this desire to create safety for herself and for her children. But for me, where I just wanted the support of my mom, that hurt, man. And
yeah.
yeah, so I totally
That's
relate.
how that's how it was for me too. Like
Yeah.
after I played for a few years, and my parents like kind of recognized that I was spending time on it. There, that was a whole thing. Like, why are you wasting time
Right.
doing that? You need to focus on finishing school, getting a job, and doing what you need to do, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those things like, well, I mean, no one's gonna support me, then I'll show you.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, from one guy on one end of the screen to the other, I thoroughly believe that you're capable of bringing to life whatever it is that you want to see happen. I wish you the best in this journey. I think we're coming up on about that half an hour mark. I don't want to push any more conversation because I think there was already a lot to unravel there. But
Sure, whatever works for you.
yeah. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, there's also an element to me that I guess wants to tie in, like, you know, we're I would love to sort of build an element of this where I can have like conversations with people in the future and like see how they're doing. So what do you think is maybe like a goal or something that you can like set for yourself in now that we've kind of maybe unraveled a little bit of the mysteries, like, you know, what's something that
yeah.
you'd like to see for yourself as well?
Um,
And it doesn't have to be huge. It can just be a small something.
um, I guess uh, you know, being able to get past that anxiety. I mean, not past, but
Yeah, no.
um, being able to maybe get over it
Mhm.
easier,
Yeah.
or into an area that, like I said, now it's usually a song or two in the first set that where I'll start getting in the zone, and I
Mhm.
won't even think about anything or see anybody out there. I look out and I don't see anybody. So,
Mhm.
that's a good thing, I guess. I mean, because
Yeah.
everyone says after those shows that I'm talking about, they said, "Dude, you played great." And
Mhm.
I thought in my mind, you know, I'm down myself.
Mhm.
I'm like, I know I didn't do great on that song, or oh, I fucked up there, but
Yeah.
apparently not.
I mean, hey, maybe it's just like in some ways I sort of I guess have recognized that excuse me that we as much as we're around people, the only person we're with 24/7 is ourselves, and it's really how we're talking to ourselves in the time between, the shows, and that's what makes one show sort of a little more comfortable than the next one is how we speak to ourselves after. Even if we mess up, we can dwell on that mess up, and by the time the next show comes, we're just still thinking about that mess up, or we're like, hey, you know what, it happens and we're going to improve in the next one. So maybe a good area to kind of, I think the anxiety is like a super positive place to start, absolutely. And maybe it's like just working on, I guess, the fear or anxiety around playing and the self-talk that comes with that, and and lifting yourself up in the process of, I think the idea of being a
Right.
local hero is a beautiful thing, man, and I can definitely see it. And yeah, I
Awesome.
enjoy supporting people in their process. That's just the kind of guy I am. That's what this whole project's about for me. So any way I can
That,
help there too. Yeah.
that's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I
Uh,
appreciate that.
totally, dude. I appreciate you being open and vulnerable and sharing and being willing to go to some of those places that I don't think people are generally willing to go. So great work, man.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Bryan, we will keep in touch, I hope, and best of luck in your next show. Um,
Yes,
yeah, man. Take care.
I appreciate you. Thank you,
Yeah,
man.
appreciate you too, dude. Take care.
All right.
I'm buzzing. Like I started that, and this is the first one where I've like really started to, I think, challenge what's happening in the conversation. Like generally speaking, I was good at just kind of letting people talk and whatever. This is the first one where I really took initiative, and that felt good. That felt great. Bryan, man, thank you so much for opening up like that. It's not easy, but it's cool to see, I guess, where these traumas and insecurities come from and how they're in all of us in some way or another, and getting to face these things together, it's super cool. So yeah, this is really positive. I'm really happy with how that went. I look forward to more of these conversations. That was a super fulfilling feeling for me. I'm just going to keep chasing that. My name's Aiden. This is Studio Raphael. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was an absolute blast. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you around the studio sometime. Take care.